Nowadays, when you think of Pokemon radio, your mind probably goes to those YouTube channels that play Pokemon music non-stop to study to, or do the dishes, or sleep, or whatever else you do while Diamond and Pearl's lake theme plays. But if you're a little older, you might be one of the few people that remember Pokemon Gold and Silver had a pretty extensive radio feature that went way beyond what was actually necessary. Meaning that even if you did play Gold and Silver or their remakes extensively, you might still not realize how many radio shows these games, especially originals, actually have. And seeing as it never came back, Johto and Kanto are the only regions that can receive radio broadcasts apparently, I think an extensive look back at this forgotten side feature might be in order. Because while it is necessary to be used at one point in the story, there is no doubt that 90% of what the radio, hidden away in your trusty Pokegear device, broadcasts is completely optional content that I would wager most of you have never even dabbled in. Using the EXPN card, the expansion card, you can use the radio to play the Pokeflute sound, and this is required to awaken Snorlax and progress through Kanto in the post-game. Everything else involving the radio you are completely free to ignore. I can imagine quite some hard Gold and Soul Silver players have also accessed the Hoenn and Sinnoh sound though, which can be used to catch previously unavailable Pokemon once you've obtained the National Dex. The list of Pokemon obtained through this method is hardly the heavy hitters, it's more names like Zigzagoon, Bidoof, Makuhita, Shinx, those kinds of names, but if you want a full Dex, it's a must use. Also worth pointing out is that despite obviously being a Gen 3 Pokemon, Meditite is actually obtainable using the Sinnoh sound, not the Hoenn sound. This could be a reference to the fact that Meditite is more common in Sinnoh than Hoenn, or someone on the development team got their generations mixed up, who knows. Either way, those two instances are really the only time the game actively pushes you to use the radio, but there is so much more to be listened to if you tune in. The third most listened to radio show, by players I mean, is probably Professor Oak's Pokemon Talk. In the original games this was nothing too spectacular. Professor Oak and his co-host DJ Mary would talk about Pokemon and where they are found, but it's nothing too spectacular and also often alternated in broadcast with the Pokédex show, which just throws random dex entries from your Pokédex at you. But in the remakes, Pokemon Talk is expanded to essentially function as the swarm mechanic as seen in Diamond and Pearl, with Oak and Mary talking about rare Pokemon being spotted on a certain route, which you can then catch with either increased chances like Dunsparce or Yanma, or exclusively like plenty of Pokemon originally unavailable in Johto or Kanto, like Relicanth and Ralts. Oh, and fun fact, ever wondered why you can listen to Professor Oak on the radio while standing a few feet away from him in his lab? Well, one of his aides explains all episodes are pre-recorded, so Game Freak actually thought ahead and created an explanation for that. Rounding out the top 4 of radio shows you might have listened to at one point is the Lucky Number Show, Gold and Silver's equivalent of the Lotto ID that has appeared in pretty much every game since, just not on the radio. Hell, by the time the remakes came out, this show had gone off air, and the Lotto ID works similar to other games, where you have to visit the building to find out if you had won. That may sound like a downgrade on the surface, you having to come get the information yourself, versus it being broadcast so you can find it out anywhere, but in practice that isn't really the case. It is true that in Gold and Silver you could hear the winning IDs anywhere in the region, but does anyone have their Pokemon's trainer IDs memorized? Probably not. And so, in practice, you would still have to go to the radio tower in Goldenrod City anyway to check whether you had won. The Lucky Number Show is also where the blueprint for the Lotto ID prize system was created, although it would later be changed. In Gold and Silver, one matching digit didn't get you anything, which would be changed starting in Diamond and Pearl, while 2 matching digits rewarded you a PP up, which has been kept the same to this day. 3 and 4 matching digits meant receiving an extra EXP share, which was scrapped as a reward starting in X and Y, and the full 5 digits landed you a Master Ball, which has also since then not been changed. In Hard Gold and Soul Silver, where again this isn't a radio show anymore, the prizes are the same as they were in Platinum. And due to it not being on air any longer, the DJ hosting the Lucky Number Show, named in the originals as Reed, and such does not appear in Hard Gold and Soul Silver. And this is not the only radio show that has a named host, effectively a character. The vast majority do, leading to a group of characters that might be up there as some of the most forgettable in the entire series, despite being minor celebrities in-universe, you would presume. One host, Buena, is even notorious enough to have her name added to the title of her show, Buena's Password. This was a newly introduced radio show in Pokemon Crystal, which aired every night from 6 PM to midnight. A secret password will be announced in this radio show, after which listeners, that means you, were asked to visit Buena in the radio tower in order to tell her the password and receive a point for their blue card, which is a key item that can be obtained by talking to Buena. You can spend your earned points with Buena to receive items, which range from not really worth it, like Ultra Balls and Full Restores, to pretty decent back in the day, like rare candies and vitamins. In Heart Gold Soul Silver, Buena's password wasn't axed but reworked, now becoming a part of the Variety channel, which was essentially a radio station consisting of 3 different programs airing in rotation, and Buena's password was one of them. But while Buena's password already existed, these other 2 were new additions. The first was Pokémon Search Party. While that may sound like another minigame for you to participate in, it's actually the complete opposite. This is a radio documentary that follows a data crew as they explore caves and ruins. As you advance through the game, more locales are visited by the crew. It starts simple with Union Cave, Ilex Forest, Slowpoke Well, but as you enter Kanto, so do they, visiting Mount Moon and even Kanto Cycling Road. After you obtain the national dex, the explorers go beyond the borders as well, visiting Mount Coronet and Sinnoh as well as the Distortion World. Let me repeat that. This group of explorers somehow ended up in Giratina's twisted home dimension and lived to tell the story. Assuming it isn't fiction, at least. And I say that because the third show on the Variety channel is fiction, called the Serial Radio Drama. There are a total of 4 shows, each of varying length. The longest is an anime-style drama focusing on Maximo, the host of the Poké-Athlon, which is in total 8 episodes long. 2 shows are 5 episodes long, being the Johto Case Files, which is a sort of unsolved mystery show talking about strange occurrences in Johto, like a strange Pokemon spotted near the World Islands and a sad voice coming from Tojo Falls, as well as the show Waves of Love, which is a soap opera set on the SS Aqua. The shortest show is 4 episodes long and it's called Delinquent Road. This is a road-style show hosted by a character named Perio, who meets all kinds of people while touring on his bike. To add some extra world-building power to all of this, all of the shows on the Variety channel are often interrupted, so to speak, by commercials. These include messages from the Johto Bureau of Tourism, recommending you visit landmarks like the Ruins of Elf, Olivine City's Lighthouse and more, whatever companies are behind Pokemon Centers, the Rich Candy Bar, the Magnet Train, Wi-Fi Plaza and the Union Room, and even the Pokemon League themselves air ads, reminding trainers to not pick battles with people who aren't trainers. Heart Gold Soul Silver has another unique radio show as well, which aired on the Street Corner channel. Called Trainer Profiles, host Snap, another unseen character, takes you past several trainer classes and explains what they stand for in a sort of poetic way. For example, hold it close, cheek to cheek. I always want to be with you, surrounded by wonderful Pokemon. I'll mutter your name. So happy, I'm dizzy. I love Pokemon. That's a Poke fan. There are other interesting bits of information here as well, such as a line about a Pokemaniac spotting a counterfeit figurine, the school kid attending special classes for gifted kids, and more. But it is clear that Snap's favorite trainer class is the female swimmer. A silhouette like that of Venus. An adorably dazzling smile. A nickname of Mermaid. Swimming around carefree in the early afternoon. Feeling hungry but on a diet. The number of enthusiastic fans. Droplets of water in her dimples. Playing in the water rather than taking a walk. This swimmer. The Trainer Profiles in Heart Gold Soul Silver alternates its broadcast with another show known as That Town, These People, which originated from Crystal as a Kanto exclusive radio show called Places and People. Yeah, the Gen 2 games had different shows per region, which didn't reappear in the remakes. In Crystal, this show is hosted by a DJ named Lily, who is not seen in the game, but is mentioned on the SS Aqua to be a Kanto celebrity. The way this show works is that it randomly pulls up the name of a trainer you have battled before and then assigns a status to them. So, Youngster Joey is cute, Youngster Joey is so-so, Youngster Joey is kind of weird, etc. The more the merrier, I guess, but this is definitely not the greatest show around. In the remakes, it is repurposed to at least have a bit more value, now focusing on the towns rather than the people, despite the names always referencing both. On the Town channel, you can listen to what the unnamed announcer considers the top 3 best places to visit in each city and town in Johto and Kanto. And while many are pretty much what you would expect, Kurt for Azalea Town, Sprout Tower for Violet City, etc., there are also some interesting choices. For example, Violet City's runner-up is the Pokemon Center, which says enough about what there is to do in that city. Celadon City's runner-up is an Eat Avalon that doesn't appear in the game, and Fuchsia City's #1 place to visit is whatever the trio of Apom is supposed to mean, but somehow it's better than Pell Park. And weirdly enough, Cinnabar Island doesn't have a best or second best place to visit, but the third best is a volcano, which would then automatically be #1 you'd imagine, but I guess that's not how it works here. There is one, technically two more radio shows available in Johto and Kanto that have an actual host, and that is the one supplying what is still radio's primary function: music. The Pokémon Music channel is where you can listen to songs that each have a unique effect. The Johto version, called Pokémon Music, is hosted by DJ Ben, who does at least have a sprite that's better than most of his colleagues. His studio is actually the one taken over by Archer when Team Rocket attacks. In Kanto, the show is called Let's All Sing and is hosted by DJ Vern, who does go unseen. The vast majority of the time, two songs are played on this station, being the Pokémon March and the Pokémon Lullaby. The first doubles your encounter rate of wild Pokémon, while the latter actually halves it, an effect based on the white and black flute introduced in Gen 3. In Heart Gold Soul Silver, the Hoenn and Sinnoh sound are also broadcasted on this channel, as is the Pokémon Past Archive, which airs exclusively on Sunday and plays the old chiptune tracks from the original Gold and Silver, particularly the ones that the GB Sounds item can't play, like the opening theme and Usene's theme. It's pretty cool honestly, even if extremely niche. Well, that is it as far as actual radio shows go. There is even more that the radio could play depending on the circumstances. In the Runes of Elf, a strange noise can be heard which doubles the encounter rate of wild Pokémon, i.e. Unown. In the remakes, it specifically increases your chances of finding Unown you don't have yet, which I think is interesting. We've never really seen stuff like that. Also noteworthy is that the sound used here is reminiscent of the sound effect used for the Azure Flute, which implies a connection between Unown and Arceus. In Mahogany Town, the Lake of Rage and Route 43, a strange high-pitched screech can be heard looping over and over during the Team Rocket arc there, which is some nice story gameplay consistency, as this is how Team Rocket is controlling the area and affecting the Pokémon in the Lake of Rage. It disappears after you've cleared their HQ. And similarly, during the time Team Rocket occupies the radio tower, no broadcasts are put out except for a Team Rocket announcement, letting the whole region know the group has returned, as well as asking their former leader Giovanni to please come out of hiding and lead them once more. Just like the other message, this broadcast ceases to exist after Team Rocket is defeated, with regular broadcasting restarting like before. What are your memories of the radio function in the Johto games? Or have you never even given it as much as a second look? Share it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing. And if you really want to support me, you can now become a channel member to get all kinds of fun perks and help me keep bringing these videos to your doorstep every week. For now, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.